Let's talk Tanya for the 15th of Tamuz. In yesterday's Tanya, we explained that the uniqueness of our neshamas, of our souls, is that it comes from the internal element of God's energy, and more specifically, we are part of God's name, and which name? The name of Havaya. So to understand this a little better, we need to first have a better understanding of the name of Havaya. What does it represent? As we've discussed before, when we were learning Shar Yichud V'Amunah, God himself is nameless. God himself is descriptionless. So whenever we're talking about a name of God, we're necessarily talking not about him himself, as he is essentially, but as he manifests himself in a certain fashion, which is why he's called with a particular name. The name Havaya is God as he manifests himself through his 10 attributes. The attributes which we've discussed in the past, starting with Chachma, with wisdom, going through the intellectual faculties, the emotional faculties, and then Malchus, royalty. How is that? So the name Havaya is comprised of 4 letters, the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. Each one of these letters represent either one attribute or a group of attributes. The letter Yud represents the attribute of Chachma, of wisdom. And why is that? Because Yud is a dot. It is a dot which has no length, no breadth, and that represents the very original concealed energy of God before it extends outwards in any which way towards creation. Hey, the second letter, is Bina. That is God's intellect. And that is because the Hey already has length and breadth, which represents the idea of this original energy of the Yud extending itself, and now it is entering already the realm of creation, because after all, intellect is a creation in and of itself. And then we have the Vav, which is the third letter. A Vav is a line going downwards. The Vav is as the God's energy further comes down into the world of emotions, which is also why it's a Vav. A Vav, the numerical value of Vav is 6, and there are 6, God has 6 emotional attributes, and that is considered a big descent, because just like by us, when we are living in our intellect, we are living within ourselves. Once we enter the world of emotions, we're extending outwards. The same thing is also, as long as we're talking about God's intellect, to a certain extent, that's God as he is within himself. Now we have the Vav, God extending himself downwards into the realm of emotions. And lastly, we have the Hey, the last Hey, because there's 2 Heys in the name. Here we're talking about the second Hey, and that is represented by Malchus, royalty, which, as we've already seen, is represented by the idea of speech. This is God's capacity for speaking. Speaking is the idea of revelation, and that is represented by the letter Hey. One of the reasons the Alter Rebbe gives us is because all words, all the 22 letters of the alphabet, whichever word you're going to say, it all begins with a breath. Now, if you're going to exhale, and if you're not going to give any form to it, what letter are you going to be saying? That's a Hey. So therefore, speech is represented by a Hey. So the Yud, and then the Hey, and then the Vav, and the Hey. That name of God, which is the name of Havaya, is as God manifests himself in these 10 attributes, starting with the very high, exalted, concealed energy and Chachma, all the way to where God reveals himself in creation and into creation with his speech, which is the last Hey. Tomorrow we're going to see that because we are rooted in the name of Havaya, as we explained yesterday, therefore we're going to see how we also correspondingly, we have these same attributes within ourselves.